I'd like to just say that, remind everybody that during public comment, it's down to 3 minutes to say your piece. And with that said, we'll open the meeting with Jessica.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We have department head updates this evening. Mr. Brown?
We are in between plowing snow and trying to fix potholes. We've got a small window from the beginning, middle of the week. We've been out getting the worst spots until hopefully we get a stretch that we can do some grading, but everything's drying up nicely. So as soon as we get some good weather, we'll be out grading. The paving, I have a question about. We are gonna rebuild Summer Street next year. So I was wondering if I measured up the roads to Bunker Hill Street, High Street, Stone Street. I was wondering if we could redivert the money that was bid on for Summer Street to those streets. They measure up that it's the same square footage within reason.
Okay.
So I guess I'm looking for permission to maybe utilize that money on those streets. They're in very poor condition.
I don't see a problem where we're gonna do Summer Street, not miss another year.
Get the money well spent to
Yeah.
grab them streets. I also, the money that Rusty gave me at town meeting. Will I be able to use that for, say, sidewalks or other small streets?
I believe that was part of it.
Yeah, there was no restrictions on
Stuff
that.
pertaining to road work.
Road work was the only restriction, right? That it had to be.
And I believe sidewalks is specifically mentioned in the
It
RSA.
is, okay.
Okay, well, I'd just like permission. I mean, obviously, I've got some people coming. I got one guy coming tomorrow, quote all the sidewalks, which I'm gonna quote. The roads that we're gonna pave, Railroad, Bunker and High and Stone sidewalks, I'm gonna have a quote on.
Okay.
We'll box cut them out, put some gravel on them, so they're less. And pave them 5 feet wide, they're currently paved, so we'll replace them with asphalt, 3 quotes, so I'll get a quote from Blacktop is coming, Central Paving. And I'll ask, the 2 major competitors that are paving the roads to
If they want it.
to bid on it, in case they want to work while they're here, so they'll give us 4 quotes for that.
Okay,
So are these quotes or actual bids?
I usually get quotes for the sidewalks. Which,
What's the threshold dollar amount this will come to? What's the dollar amount this will all come to?
I do not know.
More than 5,000? Yes, it could be.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it'd be more than 5,000.
Be greater than 10,000.
I mean, to me, it's essentially a bid anyway. They come, they'll measure it, they'll give the price, they'll submit it to the office.
It'll be in writing,
yeah,
It'll-
not just a phone call.
No, it'll be on a piece of
Okay.
paper. And it's gonna be described each sidewalk with a price for each sidewalk.
so with that said, going forward, then we probably should classify this as a bid.
As a bid,
Yes,
but it's not a sealed bid. I want to be very clear on our language and our processes.
so,
I think the intention is to go out to folks to make sure that we're getting like quotes to like quotes, so bringing them in to understand and survey the area so that we then receive a quote, a bid that would be opened for you at the May 7th, is it? May 5th meeting. So there'll be a lot of bids.
we'll treat this as a sealed bid.
Cause I am meeting with them tomorrow, starting meeting with them tomorrow, so I'll just tell them to put it in a sealed bid.
Yep.
For a date to be open in May.
Let's do that.
The paving, I'm gonna ask that they come back when we're switching, just to give an accurate
that would be
price. I
great.
usually do that in spring anyways. We have getting a price from Hutchins,
Hutchins, yeah.
Pike. And Central. When they bid last time, Central did not bid on it. They were asked to. I figured a local contractor and 2 big contractors.
Yep.
So I will, unless you tell me differently, ask the same people to quote it.
Yeah, and we'll treat that as a bid as
A
well.
bid, yes, I will tell them it needs to be a sealed bid delivered to the town office.
And it's gonna be very clear, it's apples to apples, we're not gonna get different things. Okay, thank you. Yes. Okay,
It should be, the pavement's pretty basic. You've shown the street, the width, the length. It's up to them to measure it accurately. I have the measurements. I measured it myself. The previous bids, Central did not bid, like I said, Hutchins was the cheapest. But we were adding streets, I will.
Yep.
I'll redo it.
We need to redo it.
So I will call them tomorrow.
Okay.
With that being said, there's a significant amount of catch basins to be changed, in a line of 30 of them, so I reached out and got 3 quotes on. They're called drop inlets, they're concrete catch basins. Calco is $658 a piece. Mitchie Corp does not do that anymore, they used to. Central Concrete has them for $250 each, so I'm proposing to go with those.
Does that go over the?
That goes over his threshold, but it's within
Which is.
Jessica's, but
Okay.
he's transparent.
It's all
Okay.
home quoted.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we don't have the same. Good,
Threshold, yeah.
perfect.
And that's about it. We're gonna start spring cleanup, obviously in May. Painting the crosswalks. We have a lot of work to do with all this paving and the finishing up of FEMA. So it's gonna be a busy year. We need to think about, and I don't know how we'll have to approach it, but our winter sands, where it's gonna be a busy year.
It'll all work out.
It'll all work out. I'm just throwing it out there. Whatever our thoughts are. Keeping our mind about that, because all be it before you know it.
Did we incur any damage over the winter to the roads that FEMA had?
No,
So we're all good there.
yes. Good.
Tim, I just want to remind you, we've got No Mo May coming up.
You're gonna get me killed. Oh.
Please remind Peter not to mow Soldiers Park in April to get out ahead of it.
I'll do my best.
You can reinforce that with Peter when you talk to him. And then probably that Thursday before Memorial Day weekend to mow so that it's nice, freshly cut for the Memorial Day activities. And then also the Conservation Commission funds No Mo May signs for Lancaster residents. While supplies last, I will be distributing them on Tuesday, April 22nd, here in the town office from 10 to noon. Charity will get a resident notice out as the time gets closer, but just putting that there for the public now.
If you think of it, we just stick one in the park.
I will stick plenty in the park. But
That
we
makes
should
sense.
do it in March, so he doesn't go in April. I know. last
Peter's
year-
just waiting, he's wondering when it can, he's just waiting, it needs to dry up a little so we can do our park cleanup, it's no sense in doing it right yet, it's a little way, yeah.
Yeah, just no mowing, cleanup is just.
Right.
That's the way.
Correct.
Just Soldiers Park, the other parks are as he wishes. Thank you, Tim.
That's all I can think of. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Irving.
The tomorrow, Wednesday night is the planning board meeting. I had assigned different departments to each of the members so that they could get on up to speed with, just like the budget committee members do, for the capital improvement plan. We'll be watching a short video and then I'll be demonstrating the software for them so that they can see how it's going to be working. Of course, and just explaining to them that the biggest time suck for me is researching replacement costs for any of those assets. And it, would be for them as well. It's just when they may be able to help with that as we move forward. My goal, I think I've said before, is I'd like to have at least every department's replacement cost put in by the end of quarter two. So it would be for the July budget meeting. The RFQ for the engineering services for Summer Street was published and posted. I also did direct solicitations. I've had responses from at least 5 engineers.
Okay.
And Timmy was thinking that perhaps he'd like to have one day to invite everybody to do a walkthrough on it. So I do have somebody from CMA coming up on Wednesday. But that's because they're working in Colebrook and they're just gonna stop by and do a walkthrough with me. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been churning out enforcement letters. Most of them have been pretty light, just not meeting conditions of approval for things, but I had also been addressing some resident complaints of some properties that I just sent out letters and asked them to contact the office so that before we got into enforcement. One of the enforcement, properties is the one that the zoning board, denied the equitable waiver and ordered the removal of the foundation. I have not started an enforcement on them because it's been relisted. And if we can sell it with an agreement with the buyer, I'd rather see that happen, get it back on the tax rolls than to, but I'm keeping in touch with Denise Boynton on that one to see how that's going. Contacted Lou Barker from the railroad. We basically need to sit down with, Paul Crane and go over the next steps on the directional drilling underneath the railroad and get the temporary agreement signed so that we can proceed, because we won't be able to. Just letting you know that the Portland natural gas pipeline, I had submitted a grant application for the chest compression system that for EMS that, and they denied it. And Trish came into the office the other day and we're talking about submitting an application for the bike racks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I agree?
Yeah. Mrs. Robards.
I spoke with you last month about the furnace issue at the library. Since then, we've had some changes. In the end, two contracts. First, we had Control Technologies who handles our whole air handling system in person. They discovered that the actuator that handles the children's library section of the whole system is not working properly, which is why everybody's always cold down there, including the babies, which is not good. And that the backflow preventer was going to the furnace and the auto feed are not working properly. So we know those need to be replaced. The contract for that is $22,040. The bigger part is replacing the burner, the first itself, rather than replacing the whole thing. They feel, and we feel, that for now we can get by without doing the whole big honking thing. We replace the burner and the parts that relate to that. Cost for that's going to be $13,600. So what we're asking from you is to release up to $20,000 for both projects from our capital reserve. We shouldn't need nearly that, but we're concerned about the tariffs that are in place at this point, and that there may be changes that we don't expect. We hope to have the whole figure done at about 16,000 from both parts. But if we have 20 available to us, then we feel it'll be safe. So the selectmen are the ones who hold the responsibility for that part. So I may ask you to release that much to us on an emergency basis.
And did you say the 20,000 you think includes the possibility of tariff increases, or you're trying to beat tariff increases?
We're hoping we beat it. I think coming to you instead of waiting in 2 weeks when I'm usually here, that I can get the contracts back in time, that they will honor them as is.
Okay, so you think 20 is okay.
So hopefully it's going to be 16,300 or something like that, but
I make a motion to expend up to $20,000 out of the library capital reserve account for repairs as prescribed.
I'll second that. All in favor?
and just for your information, Thursday, we hope to have the new system put in with the pump and the whole system that will protect us from floods in the children's library. And we're looking into some kind of an alarm system that will let us know if that ever activates, so that we can move right quickly, because the problem is catch basin outside that gets iced up, and sometimes the icing is so far down we're not even aware of it until it hits us. So that's in process. Next.
That's good, Barbara. Thank you.
Right, that is it for the department head updates. So thank you to those folks who joined us. You're free to leave if you wish. We have one appointment this evening. This is for Mrs. Melissa Elander with Clean Energy New Hampshire for the solar project.
Should I stand? So actually not specifically for the solar project. So I work for Clean Energy New Hampshire, which is a nonprofit. I am funded by the Tillotson Fund to work with towns and schools in northern New Hampshire to do energy projects. In the case of Lancaster, I helped write a grant that secured you about 60% funding for your solar project. But I've helped a lot of towns and schools throughout the North Country to write grants, complete projects from lighting to solar. In addition to being funded by the Tillotson Fund, I'm also funded by a USDA grant, the Rural Community Development Initiative Grant, RCDI. But in order to help any towns and bill my time to that grant, I have to have a signed assurance agreement, which is a standard federal form that goes along with a lot of grants. You have a copy of that. So if Lancaster were to sign it, what that would do is it would allow me to bill my time to the USDA grant. Any time spent working with Lancaster would be billed to that grant. Essentially, it supports my position at Clean Energy New Hampshire in addition to the Tillotson Fund. There is no reporting or financial obligation on the part of any of the towns that receive my services. Essentially, USDA requires it because you are a recipient of services of this grant, even though Clean Energy New Hampshire receives the funds from the grant. Let's see, some of your neighbors that have signed, Whitefield, Stratford, Gorham, Bethlehem, Carroll. Whitefield and Stratford actually signed about 2 years ago, and they have not heard from USDA. There is something on that form saying that USDA may contact you to ask about the services that you've received, which is a possibility, but in 2 years, Whitefield and Stratford have not heard from USDA. Gives you an idea of your input, I guess, and what's needed. Any questions?
No, and I can certainly assert to the efforts that you put in for us, and thank you. And I want to thank you in advance for what you will continue to do once we hear that funding is moving. I want to make sure for process purpose, we are making a motion to approve and sign an assurance agreement with USDA. Is that adequate motion?
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll sign it.
Thank you.
Well, let's just sign it now. You can do that.
Yep.
So just you.
Yeah.
Great. Do you want to keep a copy of it, or do you want me to email you a copy, or?
Great. Yep.
Thanks, Melissa. Great seeing you.
All right, there are no public hearings tonight. Next up is review of minutes. I have a March 3rd, 2025 work session.
Make a motion to approve the March 3rd work session minutes. Presented.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Here we go. We also have a March 3rd, 2025 regular.
Make a motion to approve the March 3rd regular select board meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There is a March 3rd, 2025 non-public session minutes.
Make a motion to approve the March 3rd non-public session minutes as presented.
I'll second that. All in favor?
And final is a March 17th, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
I cannot sign those minutes. I was not here. So we'll have to look until Leon gets back, I guess.
That. Right, next up is sign various paperwork. We have a land use change tax. This is for tax map R12, lot number 56 for $4,300. Two spaces. Mhm.
Thank goodness for those stickies.
Yeah.
We also have another land use change tax for tax map R12, lot number 55, in the amount of $4,300. Finally, a land use change tax for tax map R28, lot number 12-1, in the amount of $4,750.
Yeah. Right. Use application.
We have a current use application for tax map 7, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, for tax map R24 lot 41. It's for up on Kelsey Drive.
Okay. We also have a current use application for off of Kelsey Drive. We have an abatement for 37 Causeway Street for $125 sewer and 110 water. The water sewer was scheduled to be disconnected last spring and summer, but unfortunately, due to the July 10th storm, that project was put on hold at no fault to the property owner that it was delayed. So the superintendent wishes to not charge those items. We have an abatement for 8 Mary Elizabeth Lane in the amount of $125. Sewer was added to the account in error and missed being removed for the second issue billing. It's $125. We have a solar exemption application for 457 North Road. Here's the signature.
Oh, just the top. On that, that's different.
We have a gravel tax warrant for AB Aggregates Incorporated. This is all his.
Nope, this is Paul Crane. So those are 2 lots of his.
We have a intents to excavate for tax map R01-006 and R01-021. We also have an intent to excavate for tax map R13-66 and R13 lot 68. We also have an intent to cut wood or timber for tax map R26 lot 35. Okay, thanks for hanging in there with all the procedural signatures. Appreciate it a lot tonight. For new business number 1, we have land use change tax appeals. First up is Morris Janney. This is response to a letter dated from the owner from January 16th, 2024, and a memorandum dated to the select board on December 30th of 2024. The assessors provided you information after an on-site view of the property on March 21st, 2025. And if there's anybody in the public who wishes to speak on this abatement.
Yeah, so, I don't, is Jason gonna be available at any time to meet, to talk about any of this, or?
No, sir.
Oh,
Not,
okay, so-
it's at this point, it's gone back before the select board. Would you mind for just your name and your address?
Oh,
Sorry.
Daniel Morris, the property is at 63 McGarry Hill Road. Megan J can't be here tonight. So on, just after the meeting in March, I emailed Jessica and asked her to forward it along to Jason. What we were discussing, and basically that's that the property never came out of current use. So he was offering to put back into current use in that meeting. The property never came out of current use, so that was you know, what I was trying to forward along. I don't know if any of the select board got any of that information. So yeah, I was hoping for an answer on that.
Well, the recommendation that Jason had forwarded to us is basically there's nothing we can do for the 24. But moving forward.
Maybe for the year 2024.
Yeah, year 2020. But he recommends that we encourage you to fill out a new current use application. And get that in motion. And there's a mess of reporting that you're going to have to do.
I'm sorry.
A mess of reporting that you're gonna have to do, like your crops and all of that stuff that was not mentioned.
I mean, he never asked me for anything.
Okay,
I provided records for sales for last
Profit.
year.
profit and loss, yeah,
Not lot, it's just gross.
Okay.
sales. And I have records for the previous years as well. I was hoping for an explanation on why you can't do anything about 2024. The property never came out of current use.
yeah,
In 2023, I had a meeting with Jason and Ben, I forget his last name.
Olson, yeah,
And I told both of them that we were farming, and that I still qualified for current use. And he, according to the handbook, he's supposed to be able to just record that. The property was previously, when we bought the property, it was in current use for recreation. And in the assessor's handbook, and I can, if you bear with me for a moment, I can tell you exactly where it says in the assessor's handbook. On page 92 in the current use criteria booklet. It states that if a parcel of property in current use is transferred to a new owner and still qualifies for current use, the property shall remain in current use. There is no requirement for the new owner to apply for current use assessment. And additionally, it states, if a parcel changes category, for example, farmland turned into forest land or vice versa, the change should not trigger a new application and fee. Changes should be noted in the town's records and could include an updated application amount. So at that time, when I had that meeting with Jason and Ben, this is what should have happened. I told him we were farming. I have the records showing gross sales, and he didn't make the necessary updates. So our property never came out of current use.
From what I understand, the town does not have record of the request that you made in 2023. I think it's kind of the crux of some of this. We do not have.
Jason stated that
Yeah.
the reason he didn't do that in our meeting a few weeks ago, the reason that he didn't make those updates was because it was an uncommon situation. Unfortunately, it's the law. It's my understanding that I'm one of only 2 properties in the state who has asserted current use under this RSA, where you have to use gross sales of $2,500. So I understand why I guess that that was missed. However, it doesn't change the law. So we never came out of current use.
well, all we can do is go by the recommendations of our assessor. So. And he recommends that it be denied.
Are you assessing officers?
We are, but we also hire I am not personally, I am,
Your signature is on my land use change
Yeah, it
packet
is.
as an assessing officer.
yes.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
We just did a mess of it right here in front of you.
Yep.
But me, I don't hold a license to assess or any of that. The town of Lancaster hires Jason.
On that form, you're an assessing officer
Yeah.
and you signed it.
As the government body, I guess, of the town. I recommend, and my family's been through not what you're trying, what you're saying that you're doing, you know. But we found relief by going to the state. Okay, that is a tool that is here at your disposal, is to go to the
BTLA.
PTLA. So I would, as a person, that's what I would recommend you to do. As a person to person. Because
Can I clarify
Yeah, go
something
ahead.
really quick? When these come to us, we certainly have the right to not take the recommendation of our professional assessor. So we could vote
could.
on overriding what his recommendation is. I think what Shane is saying is they're not professionals.
I-
While we are considered the assessors of the community, that would be like saying we're responsible for the audit. And we are not auditors. There's a lot of things that a governing body is responsible for, but do not have the professional or technical expertise. So the process would be, we put this in the hands of people that have that expertise. In this case, it's Jason. I know from my seat, I do my best to take our professional recommendations when we get them and then send this to the state or superior court, which is your choice. That's the next step of this process, where they have people that are professionals in making these types of decisions.
The
They
RC,
shouldn't have the expertise to fully interpret.
it's
what
very
you're-
clear. It's very clear.
I appreciate that you're saying that. I'm saying what I have read is not quite as clear to me. And because I would have to vote on that tonight, I'm not comfortable voting on something I'm not clear of.
So again, I recommend that you take it to the next step. That is the taxation in the state of New Hampshire. And let them review all of this. Plead your case to them. And it could come back that you win. I don't know.
And he
I'm
is
not trying to
encouraging you
win.
fill out a
My
good
property
form.
never came out of current use. I'm not trying to win.
No,
anything.
I'm just saying, you might do better there. I know my family has had success there. So. As a personal,
Do we make a vote on accepting or like what action do we need?
There needs to be a motion.
I make a motion to accept the recommendation for denial of the land use change tax appeal on Morris Jamie as presented.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There's people that are better at this than us.
Yeah.
We're encouraging you to go to the next step.
And also fill out the paperwork.
Yeah.
Going forward.
I did fill out the paperwork. I submitted a 27-page appeal.
Yes, but for
To the state.
current use as
Did
recommended
you
by.
read the 27-page appeal that
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I read all of your crops and what you've sold. It doesn't make me an expert. I'm not an expert witness. I
math is pretty clear. $2,500 isn't that hard to add up.
well, now I feel like you're insulting my intelligence, so I'm gonna stop speaking.
I'm not. I'm saying that the law is very clear. There's nothing confusing about it. You know, I wish I was getting an honest answer.
All right, next up, land use change tax appeals for Erdley. The property owner was appealed, last fall, was imposed last fall after a homestead. There is a number of, in the memorandum, a number of sites that were submitted to you.
I have 5
So
more.
those-
And I talked to Jason a lot about it, but you get nowhere with Jason.
Absolutely no.
And I'm a taxpayer. I live in this town just like these folks, and our voices deserve to be heard. And I have a booklet here. I really appreciate the time. This is my first time being at a board meeting for the town. And so let me know when I can speak.
Absolutely. So after talking multiple times with the owner, a revised land use change tax is recommended, mainly based on the substantial investment involved in developing a long driveway across the conservation easement field to reach the home site. Based on the relevant market information, the revised recommended value for the land use change tax is $95,000. So, feel free, yes.
May I use this just to open up my page? Okay, so let me first start by saying that the land is also in the Forest Society. Are you familiar with the Forest Society?
Sounds like an easement.
Yeah, there's an easement for the conservation easement on the 14 acres.
I have so much to say, so I'm gonna let it
Yeah.
all kind of flow because it has to be so we can all understand. We bought the land, it was 62 acres for 184.5. So dividing that would make the 2 acres that I pulled out of current use, it would be $3,000 an acre. The driveway that is cut through the Forest Society and the conservation is a quarter of the 2 acres. That is definitely devalues the land with the conservation and the Forest Society. Not to mention it's off grid. There's no electricity. There's no municipalities there in the house.
So that being said, the assessment of the house assessment,
Wait a second. First, we're gonna talk about the land and then we're gonna talk about the house and then we're gonna talk about it its entirety, because right now the debate is 2 acres. We took 2 acres out of current use to build the house. So Jason is saying that the 2 acres was worth $100,000. At 10%, I paid the town the $10,000. It's grossly overestimated at 100,000. So there's not one piece of, there's no 2 acres in the town of Lancaster that sold for 100,000. The ones that you have in front of you, we got 3 acres, 3.74 acres for 50,000. That is my neighbor that is 2 houses behind me. We got Page Hill Road, as you see on your papers, for 2.9 acres at 43,000. And then we have North Road for 2.6 acres for 47,000. Then we also have lot number 4 on Kelsey Ave. That's 2.3 acres. That sold for 55,000. We have 2.4 acres, 2.40 acres on 26 Mary Elizabeth Lane. That sold for 53,500. We have Page Hill Road at 2.9 acres. That sold for 43,000. We got Sunny View Drive, lot number 19. That was 6 acres. That sold for 41,000. And last but not least, we got Gore Road, which was 5 acres, and that sold for 60,000. So the $100,000 that Jason is saying that 2 acres is worth is grossly overestimated. Gross. And I paid the 10,000 and I'm here to debate that. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 8 comps. And not one comp is anywhere near even 60 grand. And he's pricing it out at 100. So that's one factor. That's the main factor why I'm here. The secondary factor, as a side note that I'd like to stand in front of you again when I do an abatement, is I have the tax records here since almost conception of the land. I bought the land from John Braggart. He bought it from Christie's. And the land, and now I'm talking about the 62 acres of entirety, not the 2 acres. That's grossly overestimated. The tax was $582 for years. And now all of a sudden, Jason's taxed me 3 times. And we pulled out current use, the 2 acres that we're talking about, in 2023. Then it jumped up to $3,973. So the house went up in about 3 months. Now he's saying, and I guess I'll have to come back, but he's pricing the whole entire property at $10,000 a year. So we go from 582 to $10,000. The house is off the grid. There's no electricity from the town. There's no wires.
It cost over $100,000 to put electricity out to this house. That's why we chose not to do it.
It's off the grid 100%.
And so therefore it shouldn't be assessed as like a normal dwelling house. It's not, the majority of people would not purchase this house, say, oh yeah, I want to buy an off-grid home, okay? It's work, trust me, it's work. And I don't think that we're getting the understanding with Jason about the situation. All he sees is a big carriage barn and a bunch of sliders looking out at a field. It's
But
great, it's beautiful.
That's the second time we're gonna come in for the abatement, as you totally understand. So right now, we're talking about the 2 acres, way overpriced. So if I buy, math doesn't lie, if I bought 62 acres for 184.5, that's $3,000 an acre. So how does 2 acres cost $100,000? I don't know how we got that. And he agrees with me, because we've talked every month, and Charity knows, they know my voice when I call the town hall. So something has to be done here. Like I say, I'm all paid up. We're square, but the 2 acres is not worth $100,000. And I have 8 comps. So if I was a professional realtor, I would take the 8 and I would divide it up. And even in my tax form, it says that the land is worth 47,000. Got it here. And then every 6 months, he's upping the cost of Forest Society conservation lands. So you tell me. You tell me, I got all these papers here and you're more than happy to see it, but it's grossly overpriced. So I'm asking for an absolute abatement on the 10,000 that I put down the taxes.
Well, he is recommending that go down from 100,000 to 95,000. So he's providing some abatement there.
Okay, 5,000 isn't much. I'm looking to cut it in half, because that's what is right here by law. This is the paperwork that I'm putting in front of the town.
And I guess I'd like to comment too on comps. Comps are subjective. We certainly have seen the comps that you have provided, and he has other comps. That's part of real estate assessing, real estate appraising.
Do you have the copy of any land in the town of Lancaster that was sold in 2022 for $100,000? Because that's what we're talking about. We're going back to, for 2 acres, it's sold for
We're
$100,000.
going to talk about the 2 acres. I don't think it's quite as a straight line math. He was saying, whether I understood math. I think that pulling out 2 acres out of 64 or 51 isn't exactly like the same slice of pie. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not, because you got a long
Right,
4-mile driveway. Thank you very much. He did it. He did it all by himself. All by
It's
himself.
lovely. It's lovely.
Thank
I
you
just
very
want to
much.
say, I didn't say you don't understand math. That's not at all what it said.
So I think that it's not quite as easy as saying you take a pie and 2 acres, it's exactly the same amount. You still.
Right. I'm not talking about a pie, and I'm not talking about symmetrics or geometry. I'm talking about totally 2 acres. No, for real.
Yeah.
Because we have the 1/4-mile long driveway that goes through the field that is almost, like the Forest Society owns it and it's conservation. And then you have the part where the house is built with the septic and the well and so forth. But either way, even at 95,000, that's still grossly overcharged.
Did Jason come out
Yes,
to your property?
yep. He came out, he saw the home, yep.
And I do agree that you have two issues and you're bringing the one tonight and you're bringing the actual assessment at another time.
Yeah, I just want to get ahead of it. I want to get ahead of everything and have everything done right and proper because, like, how do you ever afford to live here with astronomical taxes and there's not enough employment to support crazy high taxes? So definitely gonna debate and I want that $100,000 down to the regular price. If I may, please, I think that's right. I don't know if you guys vote about this now or where we go with that.
It really should be like,
It's 50. Who wants to see it? I mean. Anybody want to see the papers? And let me just also add to it, I think it's a tricky thing, and I'm gonna give that to everybody, because 260 Portland Street was never an address before. It was the red farmhouse, and the red farmhouse, Christie subdivided it, so that's never been an address. This is the first time it's ever been an address, it's the first time it's ever been taxed, it is a big deal. And then, you know, he did up the value of the land. Now, this is not my forte about how to maybe tax me on the 51 acres and then tax on the house. I don't know how they do it, but right now it's all in one. So even though I took out the 2 acres to build, it's still all together being taxed. So therefore he raised the price on the land to 120 when it was 47,000, and it was 47,000 for all 62 acres for tax purposes.
When did you purchase?
Purchased in 2020.
So we've had a revaluation since then too.
Well, it's
Yeah.
been 5 years and we definitely have gone up in taxes and the whole country's gone up in tax.
Yeah.
I'm not griping about that, but this here tax bill for 2023 says my taxable land is 47,000. That's all 62 acres. Actually, no, because there's 5 acres, there's 11 acres across the train tracks. That's just null and void because it's $5. We don't talk about that. So that's 51 acres at 47,000.
Yeah.
So how is 2 acres 100,000?
I don't have the answer for you tonight.
We know, but the answer is lost in the atmosphere somewhere, and we got to pull it down and make it right. So going forward, we got the right amount and value and taxes, and you know, it will be for another day about value in the house and so forth. So tonight, let's make a decision on lowering that, taking out the 2 acres for current use and putting a value of 100,000 when 62 acres was sold for 184. So that's $3,000 an acre. So I know I'm not asking the board to say 2 acres was $6,000. I'm thinking more on the lines of the 47 that was I'd pay tax on for the whole entire 62. So it makes sense. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't understand what he's done.
Me
or
neither.
Any of this. This reminds me very much, as I talked to Mr. Morris about my personal with my family. That went-
I will definitely take that avenue, but on the
Because this is
side,
very-
it sounds like everybody's going through this.
Because, well, this was back in the 1990s.
Yeah.
We had a similar situation. We have a house that is 1,200 feet from the road. So that required that the tax assessor came, decided that they could put a row of houses in between and taxed us for house lots.
Hmm.
And this is in a floodway. So we couldn't go any, we were doing what you're doing. And that's when we went to the state. And I recommend that that's what you do.
And thank you, and I will. I'll go to the state. I have no problem with it, but let me just ask a question, and I'm not being fresh.
Please,
How come we can't just rectify everything here at the town?
because for one, I don't understand it. I don't understand what he's done, the reason and why. All I get is a recommendation of what he's willing to do.
But that's a problem, because he's a subcontractor to the town.
And he holds the ticket that
He-
says that he is a assessor. He's a
Well-
professional.
But I'm a professional too.
And that's why the state gives us this tool to go down and argue that before then.
So you guys go down to
No,
Concord?
no, you have to do it yourself.
Oh, like me and Jason go down to Concord.
I don't even think Jason's involved, is he?
He goes.
He
yeah.
does go.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Town manager.
Side note, I think a lot of people that live in Lancaster says a lot of things about Jason.
I just, all I know is,
It's a high taxes. So today, since we're here for the 2 acres and taking out of current use.
Yeah.
Are
but
you guys?
can't you look at what we're presenting here and
Is
saying
Jason
that
doing all
that
this?
2 acres is $50,000-$60,000 somewhere around there? Can't you say and strike the hammer? Okay, it's $60,000. We're gonna say that today. Why can't we do that right now? I don't understand why we can't do that. We don't need an assessor's license
No.
to know that 2 acres is not $100,000.
And in the professional real estate world, that's why they do comps, because they gotta judge like what's the price gonna be? You can't just pull it out of your pocket and be like, this is $1 million because I want it to be $1 million. It doesn't work like that. Now, if somebody wants to spend it, that's their prerogative. But this is a very serious matter
it is.
because it's a brand new address. It's never been taxed. It's never been built on. And so today I stand in front of you to ask you to lower that $100,000 number down to 47, because he priced the 47,000 for the whole 62 acres.
I can't do that tonight.
What are we gonna do?
I recommend that you go to the state. Bureau of Taxes. Seriously.
Seriously, so the legislation, I have to stand in front of?
No, there's
So this.
The BTS.
tax appeal.
Yeah, it's a small group of people. You're not going to like the state house or the state senate.
And what-
And it's nothing
and
else to do.
what they do is they hear you,
This is the avenue that you go.
they hear Jason, and they're like Jason's superiors, right? I mean, so they make a ruling.
They're assessors
Yeah.
too. They're certified. They hear this from people all
Well,
across
they
the
have to
state.
drive up here and take a look then. No?
I don't know if they've
I
done
don't
that.
know.
No, I mean, I have all the
You have
papers right
papers,
here.
no.
I
We,
just
we
so,
brought, when we went, my father brought thousands of papers and pictures.
that's terrible.
And my father was a selectman at the time.
Poor guy. He's like, forget it, I quit.
So,
All right, so,
and that, I'm just going by my personal experience.
well, yeah, you've been through it too, and now look at, your job.
And we won,
Yeah,
so. That's
I
why,
intend to.
and I hope you do, yeah. No
I
problem.
appreciate it. So where do we go from here with this meeting? This meeting was just to communicate of what's happening.
Yeah, this is the process.
Yeah.
It's a
We have
it's
to
a
deny.
process.
Yeah.
And so because he is a subcontractor of ours, it has to come to us. We make a decision. Based on the decision, the next step is, and in this case, we're going to make a decision. I think it sounds like
Denied.
accept his change.
Revised
Accept his
Yeah, it changed,
recommendation.
yes, right, his recommendation.
And then the next step, because you don't agree with that recommendation, would be again, either this Bureau of,
What is it?
BTLA.
BTLA, right?
It's the Board of Tax and Land Appeals
Or Superior Court.
or Superior Court. Those are your
Who do I take
choices.
to court? Jason? Who do you?
The town,
vote
the
for?
town.
Town of Lancaster.
Really?
Yeah.
So why can't we just all agree with all the paperwork here and forget all that? Tell me how come? No, I mean it.
I'm just curious. I'm curious. What I'm curious of, and I'm just being honest.
Sure.
He's a hired subcontractor and assessor. of the town.
Fire him.
But you guys hold the authority and the overrule.
Yes, we could
Correct.
overrule it tonight.
Technically,
Right,
right, yeah.
right,
So
so,
to be clear,
so,
just like with Mr. Morris, and just like with you,
Yeah.
we could overrule his recommendation.
You don't.
Right.
What you're saying is, what I have said to Mr. Morris, I'm saying to you. I do not feel, regardless if I have the rights to hire a different subcontractor in the future, I do not have the expertise to make this decision. And so,
So if you don't have the expertise and I show you this paper and you show, no, I mean it though, I just need to, please educate me.
Yeah.
Why is my tax papers say that I'm being taxed on for 47,000 for 62 acres?
okay, I think that is part of the discussion on your taxes. That's Plan
Next
B.
step.
You're talking about
Yeah.
Plan A today, right?
Yeah, Plan A, so you
Yeah.
guys both agree that you're not,
Speaking what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I can't make the decision tonight.
Wait, you can't make a decision on his recommendation, or you can't make a decision for that.
Oh,
We have to.
no,
we have
I
to
make a decision, what
tonight.
he recommends, I'll support.
okay, so I need to literally fill this paperwork out and take the town of Lancaster to
No, you
court.
go down and see the state first.
Okay,
Actually, no,
You get
No.
a choice,
It's a choice.
yes, either.
and that's not the
or
paper.
PLA.
Yeah. so
That,
it's a
that's not the
choice.
paperwork you'd use at Superior Court. They would provide you with whatever paperwork you need to use if you
And
want
you
to go.
will get a letter from Jason after we make a decision
Yeah.
tonight. A letter will go out. And you can take, you have two choices. Again, this BTLA in Concord, where again, it's people that are professional assessors. They're hired to do this. They hear from landowners, much like you, across the state, because there isn't a select board probably in the state that has assessors sitting on it. Could be wrong.
so,
Could be
but then
you.
you said something about court,
Yeah, or the
Superior
other one
Court.
is Superior Court.
So I have a choice to either go this way or go directly to the court?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
I know. It's like two choices.
wow.
It will be more expensive.
Oh, I was gonna say, the court has a cost.
Yeah.
BTLA,
Phenomenal.
Yeah, but the town has a cost too, and they're charging me $100,000 for 2 acres and I already fronted 10 grand, so it's like, I think it's really sad for all the people that live in the town of Lancaster to have to go through this. I do think it's sad. Who is the town admin?
I'm the town manager.
Is the town manager and the admin the same?
Those are two separate roles.
Do
We don't,
have a-
Lancaster does not have a town admin.
So there wouldn't be an admin to support the town of Lancaster.
The town manager.
Right.
Are you
Well,
talking
the-
about like who's the lead staff
Well, because
person regardless of their title?
Yeah, well, yeah, because the Forest Society woman was explaining all of this to me, how the Forest Society is actually less in tax and less in value. And was explaining so much and said that the town admin would help me with that. So I didn't know. So if there's an admin and a manager, if they're two different, then
So some towns have what you would call a town administrator. Admin. Some towns have what you call a town manager. That's Jessica. Some towns have an probably mayor or something, there's different structures.
Yeah.
In towns through New Hampshire.
yeah.
I'm guessing when she said town admin, in our case, Jessica, our town manager.
But I
So
guess
I
what
was
was
gonna explain all this to Jessica, so she just heard Jessica couldn't even help me with this either.
No, 'cause there's a process,
Right,
and we're kind of working our way through the process.
yeah.
And when we get through this, you will know the next step, and you guys will have a choice. Again, I'm not talking about your real estate value taxes, we're talking.
No,
about-
we're talking about the
talking
2
about this.
acres current loose.
Yeah.
This is the first thing we're gonna hit, and then secondly is,
the
everything that you
value
already know.
itself, the assessment itself.
Right, and then I come to your office again, Charity, and get that application. I believe that I already have, fill that out, and then we come here and do this
is
again
this, you mean your appeal for your assessed value
for the taxes.
for 2024?
Yeah.
That was due by March 1st.
Okay, so now I'm going into, well,
So
we're
to
already in.
appeal 2025's assessed value,
Yeah.
you would file your appeal after the second issue tax bill has been issued by March 1st in 2026.
So I can do that right now.
No, after the second issue tax
After
bill of
the tax-
2025 comes out,
When would
the
that-
notice of tax,
when-
November due for December.
Oh, so I almost have like 2 years to go through. So when I get my tax.
You
against
can
this,
appeal the 2024. You've already missed that time.
Right.
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 So you would have to appeal 2025's assessed value. And you would do that after you get your second issue tax bill before March 1st. On that abatement application that you mentioned you already have.
Yeah, so that's almost 2 years though, 24, 25,
That
26.
because you missed the deadline for,
Yeah, I didn't know.
yeah,
I didn't know.
it's on the application.
All right, so now you deny me, and then that paperwork I take to,
Exactly.
I'm learning.
Yeah, you're doing great. No, so what we're going to do, I make a motion to accept Jason's recommendation for the change on the Erdley, is that how it's pronounced?
Thank you.
Erdley, land use change tax value from 100,000 to 95,000.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Fine. Next, you choose BTLA, you choose Superior Court, you will get a letter explaining this. And did they just give you the document? Yeah.
Yes.
And then there happens to be somebody here in the audience, or maybe after the meeting might be willing to talk to you about the process. What do you know?
I've been through it. My name is Christie. So I know.
Oh, you know, I've been dying to meet you.
Yes.
Don't confuse me with my brother.
Yeah.
He's the smart.
Okay, well,
You guys can do that after the meeting.
Oh, well, thank you.
Bob, you'd like to say something?
Yes, I'd just like
Yeah.
to make a general comment.
Sure.
My name is Robert Elwell. I live on Garrigan Road. And the two conversations that I just heard, to me, reflect back on November last year. We had an election. And if there's one message that came from that election, it's because the American people are fed up with their government not doing what the government is tasked to do. Now, you folks have just, if I heard correctly, said that you have the power and the authority to correct the situation, which in my mind is a clear injustice. A piece of property, 2 acres of land assessed for $100,000 in Lancaster. Can anybody in this room say that that's right? So why do they have to go to Superior Court or to the Zoning Board of Assessment?
BTLA. the Board of
BTLA,
Tax-
which has a backlog, the last time I knew, had a backlog of 3 years.
Well,
So they got to wait for 3 years before they could get a ruling from that board.
well,
Rob?
the way it works
Recognize Rob.
is you're actually speaking to the Board of Assessment. And if they pass on making a decision, then you have to go the next way. You have no standing to do anything. They have a standing, and as they say, they don't feel they're experts. I wish they would have addressed mine locally, but they didn't. So your choice now is to either go to the board or the court. Basically, court costs a lot more. You're gonna litigate it. I think that when the Beatties did it, there was a larger dollar amount involved. BTLA, keep your ducks all lined up because they will question you until they find something you don't have. But I think you're pretty well organized to go through the process. Showing comparables is good. I will also parenthetically say, I think the issue in your case is not whether crops were sold. I understand the issue is that the minimum lot size is 10 acres, and then they built on the lot. We put a house lot there, so you no longer have 10
That's not
acres.
true. There's an additional provision, which is apparently rare, that if you sell $2,500 gross of vegetables in a year, that you also qualify for current use under for farming.
Even though you're less than 10 acres.
Correct. It's set.
I don't think that's right, but
It is
you
absolutely
believe-
correct.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're questioning that.
Because I got it too.
Um,
I'm not arguing against you.
it's
I'm
not
just saying-
underneath
Okay.
or separate from the tenant.
Time out.
quarter acres.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll join you.
Well, I
Not your
think
end.
that it was a
I
lovely
get
group
that.
and at least we got to communicate.
Got it wrong.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I will just say one little quick thing, personally.
Yes.
Since you're on the board and you've been through everything yourself
Mhm.
and you know the process, how come you're not a little bit more lenient to understanding?
I am,
I mean,
but as I sit here at this desk, and I make a judgment for you. I have to make a judgment for somebody else, and there's a possibility of my own ignorance that I've done something wrong for the town. That's how I feel, because I don't know enough to make that decision on taxes. That's my problem. And I could harm the town or set precedent, and we could have a bigger problem.
So
So
what would
the
be-
state gives us this tool to use that BTA
LA.
LA for this purpose. And
Well, then they
it's,
should be here on these meetings.
and it's unfortunate, if it's true that what Bob, like Bob had said, the backlog, this isn't only happening in Lancaster.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
And
sure.
So,
That's why there's so many people and I know I'm one of maybe even, 100,000 people.
yeah,
But to combat that, maybe there should be a third person on the desk, so people don't have to do.
if there.
Yeah.
Oh, there's three of us here.
Yeah, someone's just out tonight.
Yeah, he's out, he's absent.
It's very small.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's just not us two.
There's somebody. Maybe, sure.
So that's my feeling. That's why I can't do that. I can't. And
Change interesting.
It's rare, but.
time out. We've got a little side meeting
Sidebar.
here. We're trying to conduct business here. Thank you.
Could I ask just a real quick,
Yes, Bob.
unrelated question?
Yes, Bob.
I've been reading on the internet about the reactivation of a bunch of rail lines in Whitefield going to St. Jay, and
Yeah.
is that in any way affecting anything that's trackage in Lancaster, if you know
The only thing I know about it, Bob, is that a new railroad has bought who was leasing the other the same railroad, but a different company.
Yes.
And they're a lot more active. And yes, they are planning on sending something down into Whitefield
of? Right, and through Dalton.
and through Dalton
Yeah.
and connect to Gilman to St. Johnsbury.
Yeah.
I do know that I did hear through the snowmobiling clubs that they're hitting a little bit of resistance in Vermont because Vast wanted that rail for a snowmobile. So I don't know how that's gonna plan out for them, but yes, no, they're very active through town now.
Yes, that's.
I
Yeah.
have another question about the amount of dollars. If I save $5,000 that you guys agreed on, so instead of saying the land was worth 100,000, you guys just agreed that it was 95,000 and I paid 10,000. So out of the 5,000 savings, do I get money back?
I think now you need to wait till after the next step in the process, and then it would be appealed, because you're still in the appeal process.
I am.
Yes, if you go to the BTLA or Superior Court, you're
Yes.
still within the appeal process. So once all decisions are made, whatever's final, then yes, we would refund you plus interest.
Plus interest. So we're talking, I got 3 years ahead of me.
What do you mean 3 years ahead of you?
Well, this is 2025. This was all started when we started building the house 23.
Yeah,
And if
well,
I can't be.
and
talked
if-
to or-
if we
we're
don't
talking like
refund-
2026.
If we don't refund you money till 2026, it calculates it back to the date that interest is calculated back to the date you paid the bill.
That's
So, yeah, 4% interest.
all right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet Jessica.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Mr. Christie, it's nice to meet you. I'm glad that you subdivided the land.
Yeah.
We didn't.
I guess it's for another time.
I will walk out, give her my phone number.
Oh, yeah. Final land use change tax appeal is for Calera. Based on the assertion that their 5.05 acre parcel should already have been out of current use prior to their ownership. See within the review, a number of different parcels. And Jason is recommending no change to the land use change tax.
Okay, sure.
I make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Cholula, tax appeal review.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, no other new business. Old business is a storm update. wanted to let you all know that I met with Mr. Tim Brown and I met with FEMA and HSEM on March 27th. 2 additional roads have been fully completed, so they were completed this fall. We just didn't put them as completed in the project. That includes Old East Road and Stebbins Hill Road. So FEMA is moving those 2 roads they're taking out of our vicinity-wide projects, and they're moving it towards its own project. So we should be seeing about $6,600 from those 2 roads. My contact with FEMA is out of office through April 21st, so I don't anticipate that we will have anything, any news from them until then. We did place out bids for 3/4 inch gravel to top off the road surfaces and for 6-inch angular stone to rip wrap the ditches. The 3/4 inch gravel is should be reimbursed at about 75%. The 6-inch riprap is considered mitigation and likely at 100%. So, so we will go forth from there, and I'll provide future updates likely after the 21st.
Are you hearing anything about FEMA with, what's happening in other departments of the federal government?
I asked FEMA about what happens to us if there's a shakeup, and of course they don't know what will happen, but they assured me that the funds have been obligated for this disaster. So if it just gets more cumbersome for us, or if we're delayed, we just don't know at this point in time. But they've assured us that the money that will be expending,
Created
correct,
just to be slower,
correct,
because there could be less staff.
correct.
Money should not be at risk itself. Good.
Mhm.
It's good to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that's it for other old business. Select board member reports.
I don't have anything at this time.
No, I gave my normal Nathan. Already.
All right. I have a town manager report. We received credit memos from Irving as they picked up the tab for tariff charges related to our heating oil delivered between March 4th and 6th, as it was from Canada. This was about $106 for deliveries to 3 municipal buildings. They did put us on a 30-day notice that if tariffs are reimposed by the US government, they may imply these fees towards future purchases. According to our contract, now that they've given us this 30-day written notice, they can change their pricing. Why I'm saying this is that we're at the end of the heating fuel season, and we may want our town departments to top off their oil 30 days after March 31st, so we don't get hit. We had 2 representatives from Hazen and Sawyer. They spent a day with Tim Bilodeau on March 18th to review our service line inventory. They were up from Boston and New York, and they've been doing that. He felt very encouraged after their visit. We had posted a temporary position to which he's filled. This position will help further refine our inventory, and the candidate for this temporary part-time position will start on April 21st. As you see, our stair lift is inoperable again. So I know that we'll be meeting with the North Star Corporation tomorrow, but I wanted to let you know that we've received a replacement quote for about $7,000 to $8,000 with the commercial unit. This unit is from 2014. It was for residential purposes. We've had 4 different service calls since October of 23, and it may just be time to see if anybody can help us out with this.
So that is something that the town has to maintain for the purpose of getting people to the Masonic Lodge?
No. So for instance, we had a public meeting this evening, and we should have, per ADA reasons,
here.
yes. Yep.
That
Yep.
makes sense. Thank you.
On March 19th, I attended Senator Shaheen's visit to Mount Cabot Maple on Rowell Road. The senator spoke to Morgan regarding their federal funding from a USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service for the maple industry. So it was good to go up there and meet with those folks. I also attended a Trails Committee. They offered a kickoff at Coloneltown on March 25th. Rachel Stewart provided an overview of the work they've completed, and they're looking for volunteers to help with maintenance and to continue to work on small sections of the trail. So people may just kind of piecemeal parts of the trail, so you don't have to maintain it all. Adopt a trail, right?
And that's town forest trails as well as
Heritage Trail, correct.
Heritage.
Yep, both.
Okay.
Yep. And then on March 26th, Robin and I attended an emergency operations plan for rural jurisdictions training in Gorham, along with representatives from local communities and HSEM. It was a good use of my time because they went over different emergency operation plan formats and their benefit pros and cons. And it helped provide some anecdotal information with other subject matter experts. So I'm new to the space. It was good to hear from other folks. New Hampshire DES hosted a number of water infrastructure webinars last week. Robin and I each attended about 5 hours of programming, which included a kickoff, a section on lead and copper replacement, and another on water infrastructure funding. So spent a lot of time last week on Zoom. In the vein of think outside the box, Rusty advised that he receives quite a few functional TVs at the transfer station. People upgrade their sizes or models or so on and so forth. So we mounted one at the transfer station and I saved a PowerPoint presentation and we hooked it up. And so now it's another avenue for communication to our residents. Because this was so easy to do, he'll look at other functional TVs that come in. So for instance, we have a really tight budget. I cannot afford TVs, but maybe if I can get a couple TVs, we can mount them and connect them for relatively low cost. So we're thinking about placing them here in the select board chambers. If I could also get a smaller monitor and run it near the clerk's desks in the town hall, and then maybe a Colonel Town in the library, we can just further tell people about town updates, thinking stuff, recreation programming, library programming, anything, any type of PSAs people should understand. And I think
Good job.
that's it.
I was gonna say because I thought Rusty might be here tonight about the DES rechargeable batteries disposal is changing effective July 1, and we have to do something different probably at the transfer station. So I don't know if you guys get notifications on that. I get emails occasionally from DES, and that was on it today.
I'm sure he'll provide us an update next meeting. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Under information, I did have a letter from Mr. Enos. It is to the town of Lancaster and Lancaster Police Department. I would like to apologize to both the select board and to the Lancaster Police Department for the comment I made at town meeting. I didn't come out how I wanted to say it, and it was a poor choice of words. I know that it takes a certain kind of person to be in law enforcement, fire and EMS, and the military. Lancaster has what it takes, and then some. I'm sincerely sorry for what I said. Respectfully, Leo J. Enos. And then I have land use permits for Hometown Properties North LLC at 146 Main Street. I have All Saints Catholic Church at 161 Main Street. I have James and Janet Bennett Revocable Trust at 315 Prospect Street. Charles and Barbara Mortensen at 153 Garland Road. And Joshua Rivard at 222 Portland Street. Public comments?
Yeah. That's what's up.
I sort of had one. Jefferson Smithsonian.
Oh,
I already sort of
Yep.
said it.
Yep, yep.
If anyone wanted to do it, it's a crossroads change in rural America. It is a Smithsonian traveling exhibit. It's been around the United States. I think there's like 7 different exhibits that are throughout, and this has been going. I think this is the second to the last stop before it retires. And it's all set up at the community center. And I have paperwork here to tell you the times and the dates. Since there's not a lot of here, I think I have enough paper to give everybody a heads up on it. So and it's very interesting. I've been there, and there's a lot of interest, and there's also a lot of like the Rotary's going to go and have their meeting there, and then go to the exhibit because they have a meeting room at the community center and whatnot. So a lot of people are doing that on their different meetings and groups that are meeting there. And there's a lot of schools, there's a lot of seniors going and whatnot. So I just wanted to bring it up in case anybody was interested to, spend a couple hours there. It probably takes 30, 40, 45 minutes to do the whole exhibit. It's very interactive, hands-on, bring the kids. Lots of things they can get their hands on, so it's very interesting.
Thank you. Did you have something? Alan?
You done?
Oh, done, thank you, Alan.
So last fall, you guys went into non-public session, and you said in April, the need for sealing those minutes would be over, would you like to unseal them?
Oh, I think I know what that one is.
Wasn't that what she was here tonight?
No, but I think that's what it is. It was, we had gotten word that from the state that we got the solar power grant,
Oh, yeah, right.
but we weren't allowed to discuss it in public until the governor and the executive council signed off on it. But we had to accept it we were told to accept it in non-public disclosure and then after the town meeting,
Yeah.
because it wouldn't have mattered if the town meeting had turned it
Right.
down.
Right.
There was no reason, but that's why we could talk about it.
I guess I questioned
Yeah, I remember that.
the need for the state to tell you not to talk about it, but it just,
They had themselves gone through their process.
Yeah, the other thing is, I looked at Tim's. His fix on the town hall, on the town garage, very good looking job, professional job, I'd expect nothing but professional from the outfit Littleton. Any idea on the cost of that, total cost?
5,500.
Huh?
5,500.
Boy, that would even make one payment on a new garage. I'm big proud of the town of Lancaster for doing that. I know that some of you didn't want to do it. But that's a good building and I think it's a very, very good looking job.
Well, what it did is it bought us some time.
Yes, and if that same thing comes up at 10 years from now, I think we could do the same thing. I mean, what else you gonna do with that piece of land? If you do opt to build a new town garage someday, you probably should do it on the halves. Do it half at a time. That's where the town belongs. It doesn't belong up to the reservoir. It doesn't belong up on North Main Street. It belongs there. Close to your facilities here and it's where it belongs. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Seeing nothing.
Oh, I would like to request a non-public session, RSA 91A3 2C for reputation.
See, we have to have a roll call. Kathy G.
I
Shane. Aye. We're gonna go public session.
Are we leaving or we?
Oh, no, we're hanging out here.
Okay.